Casting directly into a headwind sucks. We've all been there with that fly that's pretty much blowing back in your face and not getting anywhere. The trout are always about 15 to 20 feet further than your cast lands. But a headwind is not that big of a deal. With a few tips and just kind of an understanding of how to manipulate your cast, we can solve that problem and get you right there in the wind. This video is for do-it-yourself anglers that are trout fishing. This is not for casting 60 feet into the teeth of the wind off of a boat in saltwater. That's a whole different deal. Talking trout fishing distances, 30 feet, laying that fly down very, very accurately, even into a stiff wind. Go ahead and watch the video that I filmed in the field. I'll voice over a couple of the slow motion stuff. And then at the end, we'll jump back in the studio and I will try to better unpack and explain how to defeat a headwind for trout fishing. So watch this video and look at how much the lower butt section of that rod bends. It is absolutely corked. When I go down, I'm going down pretty hard on it, and you'll see it right there. Massive flex in the butt. So what I want to show you right here is that line unfurls and that fly smacks down on the water. And if you look really close, the fly is actually going to hit a split second before that line. Good turnover, good splat. All wind can be used to your advantage if you have a little bit of an understanding of how to take advantage of it. So right now, if I want to cast this direction and I've got a wind right in my face blowing backwards, one thing I can do to take advantage of that is I can throw my back cast really nice and high in the air, and I can let the wind really sort that out and get that nice and tight. So I can loft it up and I can have a nice long pause back there, and that wind is going to tighten up my line, and then I can drive that fly down really, really strong right down into the water. So instead of having a casting plane that's like this, I'm just going to tilt it up and I'm going to let that wind behind me make my back cast nice and tight. Because if my back cast is nice and tight, when I juice it coming forward, I've got a hold of that line and I've got all 9 feet of graphite working for me, launching that fly down. And in a headwind, chances are if it's a stiff headwind, the fish aren't real spooky anyways, and I can go ahead and smack that fly down right on the deck. So my fly is going to unfurl, or my line is going to unfurl and smack that fly down pretty aggressively. I want you to leave with just a few takeaways. One is we don't want to cast sidearm for a trout dry fly style cast at, say, 30 feet. You don't need to do that. We want to be right over the top so that we can shoot a low fastball or a low dart right down to our target right on the water. And you can be very accurate and you can regain control of your cast and your fly in a headwind, straight over the top, straight overhand, short stroke. Two is we want that line to unfurl right as it's hitting the water. So that line, if you watch that clip, and I encourage you to go back and watch it, you could see that that line is unrolling and that fly is hitting the water, not giving the wind any opportunity to deflect our shot down to our target there. So that line unrolls, fly hits the water, and smacking that fly down on the water is a better alternative than missing your target. Chances are, if it's windy like that, the trout aren't real hypersensitive to noise anyways. The third takeaway is it's a very powerful stroke. It's short, but it's very, very powerful. And you can watch that video clip again, but you can see that rod I'm casting, that's a 9-foot 5-weight Sage R8. And I encourage you, take your pen right there at your desk, if that's where you're watching it, and get good at understanding that rod tip is going to be blasted up like this. We're going to have a nice long pause. We're going to take advantage of the wind's energy to get our line super tight. And when our line is super tight, we can really lean into that cast, get down in the butt section of that rod where there's a lot of potential area, and hammer that thing forward. But on that video, you can see my rod is bent right into the cork. And that's the last takeaway, is it is a very powerful stroke, but it's a very short stroke. You can practice this at home in the yard. Practice is free. You could even get the motion down on your desk of that accelerated backcast, a nice pause, and then really leaning into it with your bigger muscle groups very close to your body. You can see that in that wind, I keep a very compact stroke. This is for trout fishing, sub 40 feet, preferably 20 to 30 feet. Practice those things. You will go out next time and you'll be glad you did, because there will hardly be a wind that can stop you.